a Shavara and an Overfiend. The Overfiend is going nuts. Casting an What? What was that? Casting an insane amount of Chaos Bolts. Hey guys, been checking out the War Within beta for World of Warcraft. And earlier on stream, we were checking out all of the Warlock changes because I main a Warlock. And I thought I would clip one of the more interesting parts of it here, which is the Destro lock talents and potential gameplay style, how I'm feeling on it, because that is what I main, that is what I love, and it's a little exciting. So here we go. Let's take a look. Thanks for watching. All right, bear with me here, guys. The copy feature isn't working, so the UI is absolutely completely screwed up, and I'm making a template character for the time being. Somewhat like my main, but not exactly. Didn't worry too much about it. And yeah, so I played around a little bit so far off stream here, but now one thing I wanted to do, I did this with Dragonflight because the talent changes were such a huge change to the game. One that overall I enjoy, but I also have some big critiques on as well in the big picture of it. I enjoyed it on some classes more than others, I'll say like that. And I think that Destruction kind of got screwed in the talent revamp department. But I'll say this, I love Destruction, and we're going to take a look at Destruction here because I think, well, just my own story is when my friends were recruiting me to play World of Warcraft, I was playing Final Fantasy 11. They recruited me. I was a monk dude, and I wanted to play something completely different. Instead of being the stoic good guy, whatever, I wanted to be a bad guy, and also play as a girl because I played as a dude for so long. So I made a female warlock in 2004, and that I looked through the talents, and there was a talent called Ruin, and I wanted that talent bad because it was double critical strike damage, and that sounded super cool. I wanted big hits. I wanted big numbers on the screen, and so I have played a Destruction Warlock ever since launch night, hitting level 10 and putting my first talent point into Destruction in vanilla World of Warcraft. That's just the way I am, you know. When I want something, it's an obsession. It's a lifelong journey, you know. So some people, we be like that, right? So anyway, you know, we're going to check out this talent tree, see what's going on. Now, I already looked beforehand. I played around with this a little bit. I'll just say this. I feel like Diabolist is a little bit more what I want. I might play around with Wither replaces Immolate. You know, everything in these trees are passive. I could see this one being a little bit more fun too with the debuff, but I played Destruction. I was never a debuff guy. I was never the guy, and so this is more playing into that dot gameplay a little bit more. And Diabolist is all about having big demons showing up and smashing things from the description I'm reading here. So I went with that one in my initial login. But what I wanted to say for the stream here was going through the talents and checking those out. Yeah, let's get into the main Destruction tree. I'm excited to see this because this tree is already better, and I have some gripes about the Destruction tree, and we'll see if they're addressed here. So first off, Conflagrate, gotta have it. It's part of the kit. Now, immediately, you get to break into whether you want Rain of Fire. There were builds for several patches of Dragonflight that straight up was the first time a Warlock would just not have Rain of Fire or an AoE of any kind based on the way in which the max DPS build was going. And that's fine if every fight is like a single target thing, but like there's fights like Razageth where you're heavily single target for phase 1 and then heavily AoE for phase 2. So like it felt really bad to say which part of the fight do I want to not be terrible at while like warriors are just going ham on all of the fight, and you just feel like it's a disaster playing the class on fights like that where you need that versatility. And so I ended up not going with the meta builds, or you know, the one that says, oh well, this is the best one. I created an all-around build that I found most fun to play and generally kind of kept me within the top, you know, 5 players in my guild. Good enough, and I progressed as much as I wanted to. So my fun was more of a priority to me than that like terrible feeling of like I just can't do anything in this version of the fight. Like like again in Raz, the swirling tornado guys would be taken down, the ads would be taken care of before I even could do my ramp up. And so it's like I would love to have had a Rain of Fire or Cataclysm in that moment. So here, right off the bat, a simple decision saying it's probably a good idea to have some even if it's not the greatest AoE in the world, probably a good idea to have some version of an AoE on your class. Just a little bit. You can choose whether we're going to dial into that more here, but it's good. Backdraft, always good. I go with Havoc. I love having the control of Havoc to place it on a target. Whenever you have a multi-target fight, you just absolutely rip having the control. Now, this might be better in Mythic Plus just for having a little bit more uptime. But even then, I like deciding who gets to get absolutely dumpstered on while still doing damage to the primary target that needs to have consistent damage on it. This one, we'll see how the numbers shake out. I currently have Roaring Blaze. I only have one, or I only have the 2 Conflagrate charges on live. But in the past, I have loved having 3 charges. The big thing about the additional, again, we'll see how the numbers shake out, and there will be a meta build. There will be people telling you you're wrong if you pick this. But the thing is, when you have high mobility, this means more damage uptime if you've got more Conflagrate charges. This means more quick Chaos Bolts if you've got the ability to generate shards well. So we'll see how it pans out. I like having an extra button to press with this one. And not a different button on my bar, but just my same buttons one more time. So I picked that for right now. We'll see how it goes. Backlash increases your critical strike. There's no way you cannot take this. I would be absolutely surprised if a build didn't have this one with the 3% critical strike built into it. And then you have a chance to get a free Incinerate if you get hit. Sure, great. Indiscriminate Flames. I've not heard of this one yet. Backdraft increases the damage of your Chaos Bolt by 5%, increases your critical strike chance of your next Incinerator Soulfire by 35. Maybe that's in the game and I just don't recognize the name. Again, I love my class, but I haven't memorized all the names. Yes. Rolling Havoc. Each time your spells duplicate from Havoc, gain 1% increased damage for 6 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Now this, if I'm picking this is something that can happen every 30 seconds. I can get 6 seconds of 5% increased damage every 30 seconds. So 12 seconds of uptime a minute. Interesting, but that assumes I have a target to duplicate from. So this is kind of situational. It could be good for a build, a multi-target build. Enemies affected by Rain of Fire take 5% increased damage from your fire spells. Yeah, we'll take that right now. And in my AoE build, I love Cataclysm as a spell. And I can talk about why Cataclysm is interesting when I get into some of the other core spells of the spec. If they're still here, we'll see when we get to the bottom of the tree, how it's been shaken up. But right now, I'm going to just do Inferno because Rain of Fire is a core spell for me. Dropping it in situations with lots of ads feels good, right? Scalding Flames. Is it new that it reduces... This is 2 soul shards. I think it's new that it reduces the soul shard cost by 1. So that's pretty cool too. More Rain of Fires more often. Or you can slap one down for your AoE grip, but you have a prime target. So you can slap it down, hit everybody, and then dump Chaos Bolts into the main target. A little bit of versatility there. Scalding Flames increases damage. Immolate. Gotta have it. Immolate's such a huge piece of the kit. No way you're not taking this. I'd be surprised in any build that doesn't have it. I see Channel Demon Fire in there. We'll get to that. We'll talk about that one. Ashen Remains still does the same thing. Incinerate increases damage if they got Immolate on them. Is it? Yeah, Chaos Bolt and Incinerate. Yeah, same. Shadowburn's in there as well. But I'm going to skip Rolling Havoc for right now. Summoner's Embrace increases damage dealt by your spells and your demon by 3%. So 3% damage or Sacrifice. Now, Sacrifice damage is increased over here in the other tree. I like Sacrifice, so I don't have to manage a little rascal in areas with lots of jumping. They've mostly fixed that, but when you go back to the old world, you can cause some shenanigans still with. But also, I like with Demonic Sacrifice, if the damage on it is good, if it's somewhat competitive, I like that when I sacrifice my Fell Hunter, I am the one doing the Fell Hunter. I always get it Fellhound, Fell Hunter mix up. I'm the one doing the interrupt. If you have a Fell Hunter and you give the interrupt command, the pet actually needs to manually run into range of the target sometimes, and so there's a delayed cast of an interrupt. Whereas if you sacrifice them and you become the one doing the interrupt, let's see, yeah, gaining command of a demon ability. That's still in there. There was a point where sacrifice did not give you the demon ability command. I think maybe that was Legioned. I forget. Maybe not. Anyway, so yeah, when you sacrifice it, you become the one doing the interrupt, meaning it's instantaneous. And sometimes that has been very helpful for me. So I do the sacrifice when I can if it's somewhat competitive. So here's where we kind of have an interesting breakdown that's different. On the left side of the tree in live, I want to say Shadow Burn, Demon Fire, and the Soul Fire are all kind of grouped up weirdly in this space of like, if those aren't competitive or that's not necessarily your playstyle, you're kind of ignoring this entire side of the tree and you have to do some wacky stuff to get down to the Infernal on the left side. And I'm talking live, but here we have Shadow Burn, Demon Fire on the completely opposite side. And this tree is more cascading out a little bit more, whereas it's wider earlier in live. But here we've got this kind of like growing tree as we move down. So other end of the tree now. And then Dimensional Rift is not a spec ender talent. It's not at the bottom. It's here. Demon Fire can be fun for like Mythic Plus when you got lots of ads or whatever. I don't like how I'm in a position where I often cast the Demon Fire and then immediately there's some sort of movement mechanic. And so like I'm 37 years old and I got to worry about my mental stack. How stupid am I feeling that day? How unresponsive is my brain? And so that's another thing I got to consider is instead of just casting this spell, do I need to now think about, can I cast it and the cast will actually finish over the 3 seconds, 2.6 seconds? Maybe that's a little bit faster than it is on live. Maybe not. I can't remember. I'd have to go look. But that's something where I remember Demon Fire is getting interrupted. And so I'd have to find these windows to cast it, which, I mean, that's a skill. That's gameplay. But it could be a little bit annoying at times, especially like with some of the Mythic Plus affixes where like you're always moving. So we'll see if I'm going to grab this. We'll see how many points I need when I get down here to the 9, what we got left to pick. Fire and Brimstone, I almost never see this on like meta builds things, but you know what? I love it. This is one of my favorite talents to have, and not just for raid, but just like when you're doing anything, the fact that when you're on your Warlock and you cast that spell and like 5 to sometimes 30 flames just erupt out from you, it's visually a lot of fun. And so I try and make it work. I try and see what I can do with it. If Fire and Brimstone is in the margin of being playable, I take it. So yeah, I'm picking it for this one for my all around build here. Now we got Reverse Entropy all the way down here, and then Combustion. I remember Entropy being around a lot, but frankly, I like the way Internal Combustion plays. Chaos Bolt consumes up to 5 seconds of Immolate's damage over time effect on your target, instantly dealing that much damage. If you have the ability to drop 3 bolts in a row, which with Soul Conduit, that is possible. You have 5 shards. These Chaos Bolts cost 2. You could do 2, 2, and one of those gets refunded 3. And so you can drop an Immolate, eat the whole thing up, and then drop another Immolate like within a matter of seconds. Feels really good. And it also justifies Immolate being on your bar. Like the clickability of it, I don't know if that means anything to anyone. The fun factor of playing your class and pressing your buttons. Immolate takes 21 seconds to finish. So that's a button that only really matters every 21 seconds. But with this talent, it matters more often to me. That's a playability, that's a clickability thing for me. I don't know if that's a word in the community or if anybody even cares about that or if they just care about the numbers go big. I like it. I like the feel of playing a class, and I like clearing my Immolate, doing all of its damage quickly via Chaos Bolt, and then just slapping it right back on there. And then, you know, it might take that full run of the next Immolate to build up the shards I need, or, you know, doing other things in the meantime. But every so often, clearing one of those and seeing you dumping big things on the enemy, it's fun. It's just the way it goes. My fun factor is the reason I like Combustion. Dimensional Rift, cool spell. It's on the fence. It was only really good in Mirdrasil because of the 4-piece that made it good. So it's kind of a dead spell for the majority of Dragonflight, and it's now back in the dustbin for season 4, I believe. But here's the thing. It's got 3 charges, and it generates fragments when you do it, but it's got 3 charges. So high movement, this is another thing for you to click while moving, keeping your numbers up, keeping you generating something, doing something, you know. And that's one of the dangers of Warlocks, is you can find yourself in high movement fights not having a ton that you can do, where other people are slapping around doing all sorts of stuff, mages flinging crap everywhere. You want to have buttons you can press while moving to keep things going. And so that extra Conflagrate does that, Dimensional Rift does that, and potentially Shadowburn does that too. Shadowburn kind of comes and goes on whether it's good, but we'll see here. So I like Dimensional Rift. Under it we get Incinerate, has a chance to recharge Dimensional Rift. That sounds fun. We'll see first though. Eradication, almost mandatory, I feel like. 5% damage for 7 seconds. Is that less than before? Was it 7% damage in the past? Maybe that means it's less mandatory, but I want to say that number is different. Maybe I'm wrong. But if you're playing right, you should be casting a Chaos Bolt at least once every 7 seconds on your target. So this is just a flat damage increase in the right hands, right? Ember Storm increases player damage. The damage done by your fire spells by 2% and reduces the cast time of Incinerate spell by 20%. Okay, that's different than I remember. Maybe it isn't, but sounds good. Explosive potential reduces cooldown. Okay, yeah, this exists on live too. Conflagrate. Usually it's right next to the Conflagrate charge, but now it's down here. Conflagrate's coming back faster, more instant cast. Now here's where things get a little weird. If Shadowburn is good, it's great to have another ability to hit while you're on the move, but you can also have a lot of those at your disposal. If you have 3 Conflagrates and 3 Dimensional Rifts, you might not need this for the movability segment of having an instant cast. Plus it takes shards. So now if you use this for the shard, you're potentially getting into that category of I'm not able to cast a Chaos Bolt every 7 seconds. Should still be able to. But now you're playing that mind game. So let's see what's over here that I would need to get Shadowburn for. Increases the damage of Shadowburn by 20%. Critical strike chance of Shadowburn is increased by 50 when the flow. So it's got its execute ability on it. Shadowburn fails to kill a target that is below 30% health. Its cooldown is reduced, so you can do it more often. And then Conflagrate and Shadowburn have a 50% guarantee your next casted. So the guaranteed Conflagrate critical strike is here with the Shadowburn. So this is a big chunk dedicated to Shadowburn if you want to play that. I'm not convinced I do right now, and I need to spend 3 points. I'm also not convinced of Demon Fire at the moment, so I guess right now we're going straight down the middle of the tree, which feels weird. Flashpoint is capable of being good. I could also just get Conflagration for the Conflagrate burst as well. Next cast of the ability critical strike and increase its damage by your critical strike. Yeah, let's do that just for the Conflagrate. Let's grab the Dimensional Rift charge and Ashen Remains. And I don't need Flashpoint. Flashpoint is really, really good. It just assumes that you've got a target above 80% on the field for a significant amount of time. It's good in the beginning of fights that are long fights, but if you've got multi-target fights, I guess you can use it on like small ads, you know, pop them a few times and then you've got that bonus for 10 seconds. Situational and probably really good. Probably should end up taking this over something else. We'll see how the meta shakes out, but yeah, it's good, but not in this build at this very moment. Summon Infernal, I love. Absolutely love Summon Infernal. It's visually cool. It's your big burst move. You probably need one of those at some point. Below coolies right now, so we'll grab that. And it's also not in a position where on the weird end of the tree where you could find it difficult to get there if you don't like certain spells about the class. Ritual Ruin. This is your summon extra Infernal. Oh no, this is thinking your. Oh, this is the free cast. The free cast of Chaos Bolt, Rain of Fire. And then I'm guessing the summon extra dude is down here somewhere. Avatar of Destruction. Summon Overfiend. Okay. That's not the additional Infernal. Generates and casts Chaos Bolt at 80% effectiveness. It's okay. Cool. So you still get the fragment generation from it. Ritual Rune requires 5 less soul shards spent. Okay. Yeah, we want that. And I think I want that. He sounds cool. Whatever the Overfiend ends up being. Burn Ashes, Chaos Bolt, and Rain of Fire. Increase the damage you're next to incinerates. And then Incinerate now generates more soul shards. Yeah, that's good. I know it's good. But let's see what else we got here. Increases critical strike chance. We got 6 points off. Critical strike chance of your destruction spells by 5. It has to almost guaranteed to have to be clicking this. Increases the critical strike damage of your destruction spell. What? Devastation, critical strike chance of destruction spells by 5. Critical strike damage of destruction spells by 5. Oh, here's Ruin. It's very different talent than the old days, but still increases damage of crits. So more crits, bigger crits. Then Chaos Bolt increases the damage Chaos Bolt by 10%, reduces its cast time. Okay, that's good. We don't want the longest Chaos Bolts in the world. We'll see what we got over here for these 3 points. Consuming soul shards increases your mastery for each shard spent. Chaos Bolt, Rain of Fire, and Shadowburn always gain 70% of the maximum benefit of mastery. Now, yeah, this Chaotic Energies, Chaos Incarnate, has not often been the pick because mastery has underperformed quite a bit, this in Dragonflight at least. So this is kind of seems cool on paper, but if mastery is not great, then yeah. So we're gonna bench these two until we see the numbers on live from the pros, and then I will adjust accordingly. I mean, again, playstyle is king, but ultimately you gotta make some tough choices if something is absolutely terrible. But here's where we get interesting. Infernal melee attacks cause a target. This is something that does not affect me and does not interest me. The increased immolation from my Infernal, not my immolation. Increased damage from its immolation, stacking up to 15 times. I mean, it's probably a good stat. You know, there'll be a guide that says it's all right, but I'd rather increases damage of next 8 casts of Chaos Bolt by 25% and your next 8 casts of Rain of Fire by 35%. That's something that affects me and I see it and I like it because it's happening. So then we have, when your initial Infernal is active, every soul shard you spend has a 15% chance to summon an additional Infernal that lasts 8 seconds. I love this. I absolutely love this. This is seeing multi-Infernals drop ever since they introduced that. I forget, was that in BFA or was that one of the late talents in the staff and Legion? I forget, but the Shadowlands season 3 and 4 where the summoned Infernals could summon other Infernals. Oh my god, it was so much fun. And people say like, oh, you just like it because it's OP. I don't care about the damage. And they stopped that from happening. They stopped where the extra Infernal gave you a bigger window to summon more Infernals during the Infernal. Right, they stopped that. But I don't care what the damage is like. When you're on the screen dropping 4 or 5 of those guys, it reminded me of the staff from ICC where you summoned Valkyr. That staff, in certain builds, you could have 4 or 5 Valkyr just rocking with you the whole time. And the fun factor, I didn't care what the damage was. The fun factor of having all those ladies dropping dookie on the enemy with you, it's just, you know, that's what the game is about for me, having a good time. So yeah, we're gonna get Reign of Chaos. So it's between getting Chaos Incarnate, the Mastery. We're gonna not touch that. We're not gonna touch the Immolate on the Infernal. And I'm gonna say I have a choice of either of these due to the directions. Increases damage your next 2 incinerates. Shadowburn. Yeah, okay. And then incinerate. More soul shards is good. And you may have noticed I didn't even talk about Soul Fire. In my opinion, the worst design spell for quite a long time here. Now, if you go back and play Classic Cataclysm Classic, and you see Soul Fire, it has this really cool thing where there's a mechanic where you get a free cast of Soul Fire, and that's when you cast it, is when it's free. Otherwise, it's a super long cast. But it had an element of interest to it of like, oh yeah, drop that bad boy out. Let's go. Soulfire, yes. It has not been that in quite a long time. It is a 3.5 second cast time spell that does a chunk of damage and applies Immolate. But let's think about this for a little bit. If I'm interested in the playstyle of my class, right? What is this spell doing for me? Do I have any other spells that are long cast times and hit for a lot of damage? Oh, it's right next to it on the icon here. It's core to my class. It's called Chaos Bolt. I already have a long cast time dumpy. Okay, but hold up, Nate. This one applies Immolate. Do I have any other spells that is a cast time spell that applies Immolate to the target? Oh, I have Immolate. Okay. So it's not doing anything unique there. Well, Nate, why aren't you mad at spells like Cataclysm then that do the same thing? A cast time that does big damage and applies Immolate to the target. Well, it's AoE. It has a unique element to it. It's targeted. You put it where you want. You hit multiple targets, afflicting them with the spell. There's a big satisfaction element to the Cataclysm, right? The Soulfire is just a different way to spend my time and get Immolate on a target, when I already said I have a really fun way of spending my Immolates and spending my big dumpies, and that is Immolate and Chaos Bolt. These two buttons here are already doing what this button kind of will do, but these buttons don't go away if I get this button. It's just still here. Oh, and it generates a Soul Shard. Great, wonderful, cool. Soulfire is boring and dumb and really doesn't have a place in the spec. And we spent, what, 3 patches of Dragonflight where they kept buffing it so that it would stay in the meta, and people in the build community were trying to find ways to get rid of Soulfire, and Blizzard just kept buffing the spell so that it was part of the mandatory meta. I dropped it altogether. I said, if I can stay within the top-ish section of my guild while not playing Soulfire, I'll do it, because it is boring and dumb, and standing in one place for 3.5 seconds in this game in 2024, no good. And yet Blizzard wanted so bad for it to be a thing in Dragonflight with all the tweaks they made to it over time, not realizing that it doesn't matter how much you buff it, it still sucks. Why? Then Decimation, your critical strikes have a chance to reset the cooldown of Soulfire. Oh my god, I can cast the big dumb spell more. No thank you. So it's still here, but you know what? I'm going to say I like this tree a lot. Maybe I've gone down the middle a little bit too much. I have nothing against Channel Demon Fire. I have nothing against Shadowburn. They each have their place. They have their cool moments. They have their fun stuff. But the best part about this tree is that I've gotten a lot of things I love here. I've got my Rain of Fire. I've got my Infernal. I've got the summon extra guys, my dumpies, all the fun stuff, the extra conflagrate. You know, who knows if it'll be meta when War Within hits, once they start crunching the numbers in the professional realm. But my favorite thing about this tree, and why I'm kind of in love with it, is they've taken this big, dumb, stupid spell that shouldn't be in the game in its current iteration, and moved it as far away from ever needing to look at it or touch it in any capacity. Now, if it comes out that like I'm losing 40%, I don't have this fucking spell, I don't know, man. I don't know. I still might not pick it. I might just have to, I don't know, do something, play a different class if this is mandatory, because it sucks that bad. I'll say 25% is my threshold. If I lose 5 or 10% damage by not taking this, I'm kind of okay with it, because that's how much I hate having it on my bar to do the same thing I'm already doing. Now let's look at the, we already looked at these, right? And these are, I'll sum it up for you. It's real easy. You get to pick every talent. You get to pick your little transitionals here. We don't need to go through all these. I'll sum it up for you. Diabolist means more demons. Hellcaller means doing more. Your Immolate becomes Wither, and doing like extending the times of that. And then Malevolence, you get a 1-minute cooldown. This one has a passive at the end. Malevolence is a 1-minute cooldown. You erupt and corrupt your soul, and you cause Wither to do some extra damage. It's big damage, right? We'll see. Can I turn into a demon again? Did they give me Metamorphosis back? Is that what Malevolence is? Let's try. Let's just look at it. Oh, did that not save any of my changes? Or did it? It did. It saved my changes. Oh, but I gotta pick them again. I'm just going to... No. Okay. Apply changes. And Lua errors. I have absolutely no add-ons installed, and I'm getting Lua errors in. So Immolate is gone. Let's go look at this, and then I'm going to look at Diabolist after. But I want to see. I want to summon a lot of big demons, but we'll get the less preferable one out of the way first. I want to see, do I turn into... Oh, it's Instacast. Okay, so gets rid of Immolate, and Immolate is Instacast now. It's interesting. I'll have to get used to... Oh, I'm so used to... Oh, it stacks. Wait, whoa, hold up. There's 2 stacks. I gotta read how this spell works. Oh, server lag. Yay. All right, what happens now? What happens when I press this guy? That's it. That's it. Bruh. Bruh. That's malevolence. Where's my demon form? I guess they consider this a kind of a demon form. That's my malevolence. All right, I'll have to play with the spec a little bit to see. It feels weird. Feels a little weird right now, you know, with my long storied history of destructioning. To have Immolate be instacast, that's a weird feeling. But now let us now who knows if this is good damage of any kind. Oh, all right, so I just summoned a giant Felguard infernal thing. Oh, server lag. This is fun. I got a Stravara and an Overfiend. The Overfiend is going nuts. Casting an what? What was that? Casting an insane amount of Chaos Bolts. I have to see if the Overfiend's Chaos Bolts consume my Immolate. That'd be hilarious. Look at this. Look at this. It does not. It needs to be my Chaos Bolt. Look at that guy go. There's a Felguard running in there. Oh my god. See. Oh, Infernal Bolt. Dude, this guy's going nuts. Now, the only thing that feels bad about this is that my cast time is incredibly slow because I'm not geared the way I used to be. Get Ruination. Okay, okay, I'm feeling it. See, this is the destruction I remember, but with more friends. If I'm a hero talent kind of guy now. I wonder, is there a lore explanation for why we have hero talents now? Why we're like going absolutely nuts? Is the Azeroth, the Azerite? Do we go huff some big old Azerite? Please forgive my clicking. This is not set up. The beta is not set up properly whatsoever. Diabolic Imp. I'm summoning every kind of demon I can. This is great. Now, yeah, I think Diabolist is tapping into what I'm feeling here. Reason being, the gameplay is just feels a little bit tighter. We'll see. Like, the way I'll say it is this: the well, what's this button? Grouping, whatever. Is this with the Diabolist playstyle? It's more in line with the Destruction I'm playing now. And the reason I like that is Destruction is a spell that I can be staring at the fight and the boss more than at bars and cooldowns and things, and you can get add-ons to put all that stuff where it needs to be in your sight lines. But just generally, I like playing classes more that my eyes are here rather than here, 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 here. I like my sight line being this here in the middle, right? And Destruction allows for that because most everything you need to know is basically apparent from just looking at the screen. You got your shards on your target, you got your debuff on your target, you're good to go. Now, what I was seeing from the Wither time situation, and I'll have to study that more and play around with how it works. It's much more of a managing my stuff switched to destruction, and that's fine, but I'm more into just the hits. My demons show up, they do what they do. Maybe it offers me less control on the kind of damage I'm doing, but you know what? It's fun. Beyond that, when at choice times during my Warlock journey, when I was not specifically playing Destruction, I've always mained Destruction in my raids and everything, but once Dual Spec came out, it created this opportunity to maybe not be playing Destruction all the time. Demonologist. Oh, and I also had a Horde Warlock as well that my roommate played Horde, so I had basically managed 2 characters at the same time so I could play with him as well as my other group of friends who got me in the game in the first place. So my Horde Warlock was a Demonologist. So this here, Diabolist, kind of lets my character be a little bit of both of those things. Be a little bit of a Demonologist while still being a Destruction. And I'd be interested to see how the Demonology tree responds to having this in the mix as well, because they already summon a buttload of demons, and now they're going to be summoning more. I'm interested. That might be fun. But who knows? We'll see how it all shakes out. Generally, I tell people, play what you find fun. Play what you like. Don't worry about the numbers. It only really matters for the top 1% of tryhards. It matters in mythic difficulty or like super high mythic keys. But I don't get cutting edge. I'm not a cutting edge player. I'm not that good at the game. I'm old. I'm disabled. I'm dumb. I get curve. I get curve every season. I get keystone bad boy every season. And that's good enough for me, right? And that stuff, genuinely, you can do that on any character, any spec. If you just shotgun all the talents, blast all the talent choices down the middle, and throw random buttons on your bars, you can still go get Keystone Master and Curve just by knowing how to move out of the giant glowing fire on the ground and pressing all your buttons. You can go get those things, and that's fine. So what really matters is, are you having fun? Do you like the fantasy? Do you like your character? Is what's happening on the screen enjoyable and exciting to you? I always encourage people to play like that, and in situations where I've played like with other people who don't give me that possibility, I stop playing with them. I go play with other people. So yeah, that's why I'm excited for Destruction Lock's tree change. One little thing is 50% of the hype, and then just in general, the flow of everything else has got me excited. And it seems like this was tightened up a little bit too, and Soul Conduit is more interesting than the Inquisitor Eye, you know, because that does something for me. It's not just a ball floating outside my head that's doing damage that I don't like. Yeah, damage is damage, great, but like, I'm not the one doing the damage. I'm not the one interacting with the enemy. It's just a thing. And you could say that about these demons, right? But a giant demon showing up and slamming an axe down on the enemy is a little bit more exciting than an eyeball floating and casting a little sparkle of flame at the enemy. So, you know, that's all I got. With that, thanks for checking out this stream, and I'm gonna cut it into a video because I find this interesting to talk about. Let me know what your thoughts are, if you're excited for the talent changes, the optimization. It doesn't really seem like pruning. It just seems like a more optimal way to give you the same options with less of the rigmarole to get to other parts of the tree that in some cases felt kind of weird, picking things you didn't want to pick to get other things that you did want, right? So yeah, I'm liking it. Thanks for checking it out, and if you like other Warcraft stuff, we got a few on the channel. I do mild lore videos and coverage. I do a little bit of rating for streams just for fun, nothing serious, hanging out with the peeps. And we got lots of other video game videos. Check it out. Drop a like, drop a subscribe if you're into that kind of thing. But most of all, drop a comment if you think anything about this. I'd love to hear from you and chat. So, peace out. Have a good one. Love you.